Welcome, everyone. This is Michael Gibbs, and I'm the founder and CEO of Go Cloud Careers. And I'm here with you today to help you build your best cloud computing career. Perhaps you desire to build a cloud architect career, or a cloud engineering career, or a network architect career, or an enterprise architect career, or a solution architect career. Whatever the tech career that you desire to build, that's why we're here. That's why we come online 3 times a week to help you build your absolute best technology career. My name is Michael Gibbs, and I've been working in technology now for over 25 years. And I've been helping others get their first tech job or get promoted in tech for more than 2 decades. And I'm going to help you get cloud hired. And that's why we run these sessions, to help you get cloud hired, cloud promoted, or build the tech career of your dreams. We do it completely free 3 times a week for you. And that's why I'm here right now. So while we wait for you to come in and ask your questions about building a cloud architect career, a solution architect career, a cloud engineering career, network engineering career, I'd like to tell you some things that we do to help you get cloud hired. The first thing I want to talk about is right now we have a 50% massive sale on our cloud engineering program. And our cloud engineer career development program is a single one-stop shop. It has everything you need to get your first cloud engineering job. See, we've gotten so many cloud architects hired that we had to produce something for the cloud engineers. You know me, I'm an architect, but I love engineers because we architects design and engineers build, and it's a marriage made in heaven. We architects are nothing without our engineers. So I wanted to have the engineers to help build all those great things that we design. So 50% off sale discount because we just launched it. We've had about 50 or 60 people sign up so far. We had our first class. The class is going great, and we've had so much fun. Join us while the intro promo pricing is gone, because it'll be gone real fast. So take advantage of it right now if you ever wanted to be a cloud architect. Obviously, you know those of us from our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, because every day one of our students gets cloud hired. Every single day one of our students gets cloud hired. You can see some of the cloud hired videos on our YouTube channel. You'll see there are people from all walks of life. People like Coyote, who got hired by AWS, and Yvonne Tamba, that never worked in tech before, and the solution architect job with AWS is their first job. And you'll see other people like Jeffrey West, who worked in geology and geospatial imaging, that got their first cloud architect job straight from our program, as well as other people that have worked in technology, the career transition, kind of like me, where I came from medicine and went to tech. I can do it, and you can do it too. So hope you're all there. Now you know why we did it. So let's talk about our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. And right now we have 20% off on that as well. That is our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Every single day, one of our students gets hired. You can see that with the 20% off course. The link is in the description below. So now let's talk about the Thursday webinar that we have. On Thursday, we have a completely free How to Get Your First Cloud Architect Job webinar. And on this webinar, we will tell you everything you need to do to get your first cloud architect job. We will tell you what the hiring managers desire, what should be on your resume, how to leverage your life experience to get hired, how to bypass HR so you don't get auto-rejected when you have no experience, the kind of things that you should do to show you have experience when you don't, so you can get cloud hired. Again, it's completely free, and the link is in the description below. One more thing I want to tell you about, we're going to do a completely free certification boot camp in June. You got to vote for which one do you want. Do you want an Azure Solution Architect Expert boot camp or a Google Professional Cloud Architect boot camp? See, in today's world, you can't just know one cloud. You got to know all of the clouds. So we do lots of cloud training around here. We do as much free as we can on our YouTube channel. So vote for your next free and full boot camp. The link is in the description below. So that's why we do what we do, catch some of those things, and now come in and ask some questions. That's why we're here. Ask whatever questions you want about building your cloud architect career, your cloud engineering career, your network engineering career. Want to know how to interview, want to know what to learn, how to study? Ask us these questions. That's why we're here. That's the only reason I come online, is to help you build your best technology career. So if you've got some questions, please ask them in the chat box. That's exactly the reason we're here. You know, one thing I will say while I wait for some questions to come in, you know, something that I never understand. So many people want to call and say, Mike, this is what I've done, 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 and this is what I've done. So what can I do in the future? And that's not really a question that I really understand. See, whatever you want to do in the future is whatever you want it to be. What you did in the past is yesterday. So realistically speaking, the future's undefined. You make it exactly what you want. What you want, what you learn, what you study will truly determine the outcomes that you have. So, for example, if I wanted to be a doctor, I'd go to medical school. If I woke up one day and said I wanted to be a lawyer, I'd go to law school. If I wanted to be a cloud architect, I'd go to cloud architect school. And guess what? My students do all the time when they get hired. But the point is, you can do anything you want, anything that you dream. So, kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So let's bring in some questions and ask them. Data as a service, cloud hired. That's kind of cool. Leo, good morning. Leo is amazing senior manager operations for my team. He's sitting there in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Welcome, everybody, and it's good to see you, Leo. Alonzo Coleman, my brother. Good cloud hired. I'm so happy to see you. And everybody tomorrow night. Me, Alonzo, Chow, and Leo. Well, we're going to have a fun show. We might even bring my cat, Cindy. We might even bring my brother and Sneak. So Chris, my chief operating officer, is out of town. And he usually makes sure things are done on time, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm going to run the show. It's going to be the inmates running the asylum. I'm a strategist, a visionary, and we'll have lots of fun. Of course, we won't have a professional moderation. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So it'll be extra. It'll be a surprise. Who knows what's going to happen? Join us tomorrow. So I'm excited about that. And of course, my brother Alonzo and I, we get in all kinds of fun stuff when they do these things. So we'll invite Chow to be herself. She's amazing. Leo to be himself. He's amazing. It's going to be lots of fun. So let's bring in some questions so we can really help everybody build their best career. Sir, Docker and Kubernetes market after 5 years. I'm not really sure what you mean by that question because it's a half of a sentence. Are you asking what we think the market will be for Docker and Kubernetes after 5 years? And if so, here's what I think. We've gone in a series of world of virtualization, meaning we went from mainframe virtualization in the 70s to virtual LAN virtualization, to subnetting, which is another form of virtualization of a network, to virtualizing our networks, to now virtualizing our data centers, to now virtualizing containers. So everything in the future is all about virtualization, or more virtualization. So I think we're going to see a lot more containers because as a rule, the containers in many ways are open and more open and easier movable than we're dealing with virtual machines, because the virtual machines, obviously we have the server, we've got the hypervisor, we have to install the operating system dependencies on the applications. Whereas a container, basically speaking, we basically need the container orchestration. And then, for example, we borrow the operating system libraries from the container. We just make our containers, and it's so simple and elegant. So I do see more containers in the future. Now, the reality is this: we're never going to get away from bare metal servers, and we're never going to get away from virtual machines for at least the next 2 to 3 decades. In fact, I predict we'll still be using bare metal servers even 10 years from now, 20 years from now, and 30 years from now, because when you need extreme performance, you can't do it on a container and in a microservices environment. But microservices are nice, they're agile, and guess what? They're kind of cloud native, meaning whether it's your data center and you're running an OpenStack and Nutanix cloud, or you're running the Azure cloud, the AWS cloud, Kubernetes is pretty open, and we love open. So it's an open standard, and we believe with Kubernetes, as long as you're using open orchestration like Kubernetes, as opposed to somebody else's managed Kubernetes, we see a lot there. So for those DevOps engineers, they're going to be playing with a lot of containers and Kubernetes. For our cloud engineers, they're also going to be dealing with some container orchestration. And for we cloud architects, we're always going to be planning different kinds of microservices. Now, half of what we do as cloud architects is plan the network, plan the data center, like the storage, the load balancers, etc. Most of what we do, the networking, the security, but we're still there. So Kubernetes, I definitely see a big migration, because the reality is what we're moving is more towards containers and virtual machines and virtualized everything. So why? See, when I started, a server had, 2 megabytes of RAM and maybe 2 cores, or 2 processes that were separate. Those were the servers I worked with in the beginning. And basically, you had 2 25 megahertz CPUs, 2 to 4 megs of RAM, and you were dealing with a $10,000 system. So that wasn't going to go very far. But that turned into systems with 200 cores and 6 terabytes of RAM. So now, most applications won't take advantage of a server that big. Some will. Some of them need hundreds of those servers that big, but in many cases, those servers can overwhelm the need of a simple application. So server virtualization, server virtualization, server virtualization, network virtualization, security virtualization. So yes, I see a tremendous migration towards more virtualization, more virtualization, and more virtualization. And guess what? Kubernetes is the open standard. So yes, I see a lot more of it going there. So kind of keep that in the back of your ideas. Byron Ross, has there been a time where you had to invite your significant other to dinner with you as possible with clients? Byron Ross, yes. So Byron, I will tell you, I've had a career as an architect now for about 25 years. Now, people think architects are super technical, and I get pretty technical because I've been an architect for 24 years. But let me tell you, I spend much more time as an architect buying people lunches, dinners, and drinks than anything else. In fact, I will say, Byron Ross, 50% of my job over the years was buying lunches, dinners, and drinks. In fact, Byron Ross, one year I spent $100,000 on lunches in my architect job and about another $100,000 buying dinners and drinks in my architect job. And realistically speaking, what did that do? It enabled me to get to know my customer. So here's the thing, Byron. We architects are people that perform digital transformation for our customers, right? And in order to transform an organization, you have to understand that organization. You have to understand that business, the business goals, the business challenges, the business pain points, the business's financial structure. Are they capital heavy? Are they operational expense heavy? Are they in debt? Do they cash flow? What's going on with their stocks? We need to know that. But we also need to know the inner workings of the organization. Who speaks to whom? Who are the people of power? Who are the people that need to approve something versus disapprove something? The key decision makers, the objectors, and everything else that goes involved in designing an end-to-end solution. So Byron Ross, in these jobs, sales, engineering, architecture, or sales, we are constantly entertaining clients. Now, here's the thing, Byron. We will be going to awards dinners, for example. We will be going to presentations, and there would be time that it's appropriate to bring a spouse or an escort or a significant other, because sometimes it doesn't look good to show up yourself. So yes, I bring my wife with me on a lot of things. Now, it depends if it's appropriate. If I'm having a meeting and my team is bringing their spouses, I bring my spouse. If I'm meeting with the CEO for coffee, well, not coffee, but whatever, then guess what? I'm not going to bring my wife. Now, it depends on what it is. There might be times where bringing your wife can be helpful. So, for example, I do a lot of consulting to healthcare organizations. And guess what? Because I know tech and I can practice medicine, I'm pretty solid there. But there were times where I had a nurse-heavy dinner. And when I had a nurse-heavy dinner, I went there as the tech person and also brought my wife, who was a nurse practitioner, who also used to be a nurse, as an extra person to say, yeah, that's right. Kind of for confirmation bias. So yes, there are a tremendous amount of times where I've invited my wife. Now, there are people that are single, Byron, and they can work perfectly without a spouse, no problem. And now lots of people, men and women, who bring their husbands and wives, regardless of the gender, it doesn't matter. But yes, there are times where it's totally appropriate to bring your spouse. But it really is going to depend the level you're in and your level that you're comfortable. In most cases, you're not going to be bringing a spouse, but you will need to develop that professional judgment. Because like I said, if you're in an architecture career, you will be doing a lot of dinners and a lot of drinks. I remember 25 years ago, if I went back when, I remember being pulled into my manager's office. Mike, you only spent $6,000 this month buying lunches, dinners, and drinks. What's wrong? Don't you care for your clients? And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, you're not spending enough money, which means you're not getting to know your clients. You're not building the relationships. You're not building the rapport. So in architecture careers, yeah, we're going to be constantly entertaining clients. In fact, Byron, it sounds crazy. I had a period of 3 months working as an architect where all I did was buy lunches, dinners, and drink and travel to nice places and speak, and then had more dinners and drinks with the people after the conference. So yes, there's always been a time that I've had to invite my significant other. I brought my wife to at least 150 critical business dinners over the years, and I've probably been to about 13 or 14,000 of them, business lunches or dinners, over the last 25 years, because that's how often they occur. And once you get to a certain technology state. And, as a junior engineer, that's not the case. But even as engineers become more capable, the cloud engineers, They're also going to be in constant meetings, constant offsites, and yes, they'll be bringing spouses. But if you don't have one, that's okay too. But if you do have one, it's even better. So do whatever is appropriate. But yes, there'll be lots of times where you'll be doing that, Byron. Great question, Byron. Truly thinking about it, truly asking about the lifestyle. I love that. So please keep asking questions. Excellent question there, Byron. Darshit, you said you know the MERN stack. I don't speak in terms of acronyms, so I don't know what you mean by MERN. In architecture and technology, we don't speak in acronyms. This morning, someone gave me a URI acronym, and I asked them if they were referring to an upper respiratory infection. One time, 3 o'clock in the morning, I was called by a network engineer, and they said, Mike, we're having problems with PVCs. So I said, oh my God, if you're having all these premature ventricular contractions, give lidocaine bolus and then start a lidocaine drip. And that's the thing. We can't be using acronyms because I can give you 15 different meanings for MERN. So I don't interpret and I don't guess, because when you guess, you make mistakes. And trying to figure out what you mean by MERN, I can tell you at least 10 different abbreviations that are official. So I'd love to help you, but you got to tell me what that actually means in language. So spell out the MERN, explain it to me, and then I can know exactly what you're talking about. Klaus, are certifications important in starting cloud computing? Klaus, this is a really interesting thing. And why is this such a problem? I can tell you this. No certification will ever get somebody a cloud architect job. I'm going to say it again. No certification will ever get a cloud architect job. It's so important, I'm going to say it again. No certification will ever get anybody a cloud architect job. So, should you do certifications? Well, sort of still, yes. And why? Now, Klaus, here's the thing. A certification will get you an interview, but not hired. But it will get you an interview. And Klaus, we have to be very specific with this. And again, what do I mean by that? So a certification is the name of a service and how to configure that service, right? Well, cloud architects don't use the name of services and they can't configure those services. So it's completely worthless garbage from when it pertains to actually doing what we're doing. So here's what I view as certification. Here's doctor, here's a red pill. Doctor, here's a yellow pill, and here, doctor, here's a blue pill. I'm not going to teach you, doctor, how to ask your patient what's going on, how to diagnose your patient or assess your patient, but here's 3 pills. Here's the red pill, the blue pill, and the green pill. Give them out. So the doctor would just be giving out pills, meaningless, be killing some people and helping some people. And Klaus, that's the problem with certification. So when we talk about an AWS certification, they'll spend all this time talking about DynamoDB or Amazon Aurora or SQS. Now here's the thing, Klaus. 97% of people are multi-cloud. So DynamoDB, Amazon Aurora, or SQS are trash. They're good services. They're excellent services, but they're not great in multi-cloud. So trash the DynamoDB, trash the Azure Cosmos, trash the Google Cloud Bigtable because they're proprietary. So when we get rid of those stupid proprietary things and we go to MongoDB, for example, or Apache Cassandra, wow, now we've got a NoSQL database that we can do on both. Hey, wait, streaming data. We're not going to use Kinesis. Why not? It only works on AWS. What happens when you've got AWS, Azure, Google, and OpenStack? Again, it's a problem, so we use Apache Kafka. So the thing is, Klaus, in the certifications, they teach you the name of the service, most of which services we can't use, and then how to configure those services, which we architects don't do. So architecture certification is 1,000% irrelevant for the architect because we don't do it. In fact, Klaus, here's the way architects design something. Mr. or Mrs. Customer, could you tell me about your business? What are your business goals? What are your business pain points? What are your business challenges? Let me see what your employees do. What are your employees doing? How are they working, not working, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of goes on exactly what they teach, and that's all good stuff. That's what we do. Then, Klaus, what we say is, okay, in order to make this work, you need 1,000 servers, which means virtual machines. We need 400 network load balancers. Okay, load balancers. We need 10 gig connections in a link aggregation group, or 2, 4, 10 gig connections in a link aggregation group, and we need to load share over BGP to get sufficient bandwidth. And guess what? None of that's covered in certifications. So when we start thinking about the problem and the solution, we talk about the solution in generic terms. Virtual machine. next generation firewall, IDS, IPS system. And then, Klaus, what do? We go to our cheat sheet and said AWS calls their virtual machines EC2. So, poof, fill in the blocks. Oh, wait, Azure calls them a virtual machine. We'll use an Azure virtual machine. Google calls it a compute engine instance. So what do, Klaus? We start with a customer, we ask their challenges, we create an end state, then we figure out which technology, and then only after we figure out the technology do we figure out which services we use. So it's kind of like a building architect. You determine you need steel, right? Whether you go to Home Depot, US Steel, or Lowe's, you're buying the steel, and the cloud's just nothing to us. It's just a virtual data center we use. So they're just our store. So Klaus, that's why the certifications don't matter. Mr. Customer, what do you need? I need 1,000 servers. Okay, I need 1,000 virtual machines. Now, if they're on Google, they're called compute engine virtual machines. If they're on Azure, they're called virtual machines. If they're on AWS, they're called EC2 instances. If they're in OpenStack, they're called virtual machines. If they're on Nutanix, they're virtual machines. If they're VMware, it's virtual machines, but it's the same tech. And that's why certifications are not valuable. But there are still a couple of certifications I like my people to get. I do like the intro cloud certifications. Introductory junior level certifications include the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, the Azure Solution Architect Expert, and the Google Professional Cloud Architect. We view that as 3 to 5% of the knowledge you need to actually be employable. But that 3 to 5% that's in that certification will help you get the interview. Now, what we do, Klaus, with our Cloud Architect Career Development Program is we teach 100% of what the people know. And then, of course, we do the Azure Solution Architect Expert and the Google and the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional. So you've got something on your resume to help you get that interview. But remember, there's a big difference between a certification, which gets you an interview, and cloud architect knowledge to get you hired. So cloud architect knowledge, Klaus, is not certification knowledge. It includes network and data center design. It includes BGP knowledge. It includes OSPF knowledge. It includes WAN technology, such as IPsec tunneling, SSL-based VPNs, software-defined networking, Ethernet over MPLS, Ethernet private lines, IPsec tunneling, and SASE. It includes switching, VLAN, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree. It means IP addressing, subnetting, supernetting, route aggregation. It involves DNS, ARP, proxy, ARP, DHCP. Those are some of the basic things. Private VLANs, 802.1x authentication, radius type servers, all minimum intro level networking things that you must know. And none of that is covered in any of the certifications, including the AWS Advanced Networking. Then you need to understand servers and server virtualization. We provide that training, but if not, a couple thousand pages from VMware, KVM, and QEMU, and you'll be good to go. Same thing on block storage, object storage, and file storage. Guess what? You're not going to get that in your certification training, not enough. So you really need to get either our course, or I should go to, say, Dell EMC and really read a few thousand pages on storage on IBM's website and really learn storage. And then you need to know load balancer. So again, go to F5's website. They've been making them for decades, and really learn about load balancers, how they work, how the data flows through them, the algorithms they use, how to optimize and tune the performance, because you need that knowledge, not what's covered in the certification. Same thing on databases. Learn about databases. Go to the Oracle website, go to the Microsoft website, the MySQL website, the Postgres website. Learn the databases for real. Then security. We're not going to be using WAF and Shield if we don't want to get hacked before the end of the day. So we're going to be using next generation firewalls, not cloud native security servers. So get some security knowledge from Palo Alto, from Cisco, from Checkpoint, from Fortinet. Good knowledge, a couple thousand pages on firewalls, VPN concentrators, IDS, IPS systems, and poof, now you know what you need to know. So those are the kind of things that you need to know tech-wise. Now, class, remember, for architects, it's not enough just to be techie. In fact, you can be all the tech in the world, but you still can't get hired as an architect unless you can do the following. You must be a good presenter. And we teach the presentation skills, because speaking at a 5,000-person conference is pretty normal as an architect. Speaking to the CEO, the CFO, the CTO is pretty normal, so you will need special CXO relevancy training, and that's why we do that in our training. You will also need to know what to say to whom. Visual, auditory, and kinesthetic people, so we will teach you that. You'll also need to know how to speak to the 3 types of leaders. The intuitive leaders like me, most CEOs, the analytical leaders, and the functional leaders like most COOs that are, task-oriented and making sure things get done. There's that. There's a special kind of writing, business executive writing, that you must know. For example, And, we have to teach that. But also, it's really about knowing how to get your point across, knowing how to never use acronyms, knowing exactly what to say, how to say it. So when you put that proposal down, whether it's an RFI, like a request for information, an RFP, like a request for a proposal, or an RFQ, a request for query, which is most of what we do, design, present, and sell, you'll be good there. So class, remember, architects don't touch the technology. So it is 100% design, present, and sell position. So design, present, and sell. And since there's no design, present, and sell in any of these certifications, only configure, that's why they're not relevant for us. But they do help you get an interview. So get those ones as a basic intro just to get you the interview. And make sure you do all the work on the back end. So when you get that interview, you get hired. Get cloud hired, class, and you can do fantastic. Just realize that's why the certifications don't do much. That's why we started this company. That's why we interviewed 1,000 AWS certified people that took all those certifications before we started this company. And we started this company to rescue them because we saw thousands of people getting certified and none of them were getting hired. Then they come with us after a few months, they're all getting hired, and that's why. Great question there, Klaus. And then Chow, if you can bring in the next question. And please ask questions if you have some. Abhishek, you didn't mention the word MERN, so your interpretation could cause all kinds of mistakes. So I appreciate you trying to translate for somebody else, but the whole point is not assuming, and you're assuming, so I don't want to assume anything, even if you could be right, because it might not be right. That's why we don't use acronyms. Sir, was your workplace all about being competitive with each other? Or were you able to make good friends at your workplace? Up and up. Everything is competitive, and if you don't have friends, you won't get anywhere. So here's the thing. Everything is a competition. Life is a competition. The only place where it's not a competition is when people go to school in America and they get a participation trophy. Hey, you played and lost, but here's your trophy. Unfortunately, that does not make people winners in life because they get used to getting a trophy when they lose. So everything up and up is all a competition. There's only one person that gets promoted. There's only one person that gets hired on an interview. But that does not mean you can't make good friends. So here's the thing. You should make friends and you should make allies and you should help each other get ahead in your career. So up and up, I've been in my career for 25 years. I have never trampled over anyone to get ahead. I've even not taken promotions so that my friends could get them if I knew that I could get an easier one than they could. So really, what's about building a career? Honesty and integrity. So here's the thing. If people know that you deliver on time and on budget, they're there. So how do you get promoted in tech? Well, a couple of things. Responsive equals responsible. What do I mean by that? If anybody on my team sends me a text message from my team, pretty much 5 minutes later, they have a response. Why? Well, if my team needs me and I respond to them when they need me, they can trust me, so they'll be able to go further. So again, responsive equals responsible. What else? So me, I'm Mr. BGP and Mr. Pimp Sparse Dense Mode, or Sparse Mode, because I've done it my whole life, and Mr. IP Video. So in my 25 years of being a BGP expert that consulted on BGP, hey, wait, there was a whole lot of cool stuff in networking like wireless that wasn't BGP, switching, which wasn't BGP. And I could go on and all the networking things that weren't BGP. So I formed allies like every good architect. So I focused on my area of expertise and I made friendships with all my friends. And what did I do? I helped coach my friends. I coached leadership skills. I coached communication skills. I coached interview skills, and I coached professional development. And along the way, up and up, I made sure that my people that I coached earned a few $100,000 more than they did before my coaching. All of them did, because I coached them to be better technology professionals. So they add another $100,000 to $200,000 to their salary, and they're thankful. So I moved up, and they moved up. But here's the thing, up and up. When you work on projects, there's going to be big projects. Work on big projects with other people. Tell everybody about how good your best friend did. Get them credit for it. And you know what? When you do something great, your best friend will get you credit for it. And in the process, you all rise together. So it's not the me first, you second. That doesn't work. It's a competition with competition. So think of a gymnastics team. Obviously, there's one best all-around gymnast, but there's still a team. The U.S. team wins together, competes together, but there's still one. So the plan is always make your team win. When your team wins, you win. So the good leader always takes care of their team. before they go. That's why the captain goes down with the ship if the ship's sinking, because the team comes first. So we always, 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 if we're good architects and good engineers, help build the careers of others. We mentor those younger than us so we can make their careers go up. And in the process, we make other people. So up and up, I've helped thousands of people get promoted. And you know what? If I want a job, here's what it's like. Hey, one of you thousands of people that I helped get a job, I need a job. How long do you think it takes for me to get hired? 15 minutes? How many CEOs have I saved $1 billion by helping them with technology? How long do you think it takes? And yes, I could have been out there and I could have been greedy and say, yes, you give me this and the heck with everybody else. But I never once did. I always worked with the best and brightest. And I always got them credit for what they did. You know what? I never even focused on self-promotion. I didn't need to. I was out there taking out the world's greatest to dinners and drinks. We were giving speeches together. We were building things together. And all I ever talked about was the amazing team of wonderful people that worked with me. All I'd ever done. I never mentioned my name once. You know, the funny thing is, when you're the leader, you get credit for the wins or you get penalized for the losses. Make your team so good that you always win. And guess what? You always get promoted that way. So the key to getting promoted is to be great. And up, here's the secret. Getting promoted in tech is so easy. When I add $100,000 to your salary, it's nothing. I'll give you the secret right now. When everybody else is focused on their next silly certification that's irrelevant, you focus on your leadership skills, your soft skills, your business acumen, your communication skills, your emotional intelligence. Poof, there's another $100,000 to your salary, done right in about 6 months to a year for many technology professionals. Look at it this way. Soft skills training on average raises someone's salary by about 30%. Empathy training or emotional intelligence training, somebody's salary on average $29,600 per year. So on a job that pays $200,000 a year, 30% is $60,000. Guess what? Another $30,000 from emotional intelligence training. And now what are you talking about? $100,000 a year. Do that for 30 years, and that's $3 million additional dollars to your salary. So focus on that. You don't have to be in competition with everybody else. You're only in competition for the interview. So be better than the competition. Never bash your competition. Never say anything negative to your competition. Just be better than your competition. There's no way that anybody can compare us to a certification provider. That's where the world comes over to us. We don't talk about certification providers. We do our own thing. We focus on what we're good at. So focus on your strength. Make everybody better, and you will do fantastic. Love that question, up and up. And then, ciao. Please feel free to bring in the next question. If you've got some questions, please let me know. If you're having a good time, if you can like, comment, subscribe, it signals the algorithm to tell others that what we do is valuable here. Amu Pool, cloud is vast. How is it important for the cloud architect to understand depth of compute storage, etc.? Without detailed experience, can one become a cloud architect? Okay, Amu, you're asking two completely different questions. Yes, you can become an incredibly good cloud architect without experience, and our students get hired all the time. Yes, but you cannot be an incompetent cloud architect ever, 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 which means it's critical for you to have deep knowledge of the network and the data center. In fact, Amul, there is no possible chance of ever getting hired with the knowledge that's in just the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional, because it's nothing. You need to have deep knowledge. So Amul, in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, we have 500 hours of training. 500 hours. So to put that in competition, a Certified Solution Architect Professional and an Azure Solution Architect Expert, which are in our program, about 30 hours of the 500. So that means the other 470 hours are focused on the following. They're focused on the following. They are focused on the network, the data center. If you don't know what a virtual machine is, and you don't know what it is in the data center, you have no hope of moving it to the cloud, because you can't move what you don't know. It's kind of like this. If I told you to cook a souvlaki, but you never met a Greek person, you didn't know what chicken was, olive oil, oregano, or like a shish kebab stick, you wouldn't be able to make a souvlaki because you wouldn't know what it was. So, everybody studies the cloud, and then nobody can get hired. And here's the reason why. What does the cloud architect do? They take the stuff, the routers, the switches, the servers, the containers, the storage, the DNS, the firewalls, the IDS, IPS systems, the VPN concentrators, all of that. They take that stuff and they migrate it to the cloud. Now, what is the cloud? It's just another network and data center that's been virtualized, where some cloud provider made up a bunch of silly names for some 40-year-old technology. So yes, Cloud is vast, and it's important for the architect to know architecture. Now, that doesn't mean DevOps. That doesn't mean SysOps. That doesn't mean Python coding. That doesn't mean Bash shell scripting. They are cloud engineer scripts. A cloud architect must know how to design. But Amul, it's not just the tech. And most people don't seem to get the concept of the architect. I don't know why, but here's the thing. We've got building architects that design the buildings. The cloud architects design the solution. It's the same. The building architect doesn't know how to use a hammer, and they don't need to know how to use a hammer. The building architect isn't using a saw or a sander or whatever tech people or whatever construction people do, because the architect is the designer, not a construction crew. Well, it's the same thing in technology. So when we're dealing with technology, what we're trying to deal with is, the technology to get things done. So it's not about experience. Experience in my mind is irrelevant. And I hate when people talk about experience and try to use it for competency. Here's the thing. Experiences means you've been doing something for a long time. You know what? I used to practice medicine before I went into tech 25 years ago. And I know doctors that are 75 years old with almost 50 years experience that have killed people from day one, of the worst experience killing people. Guess what? I'm not going to that doctor. I also know people that have been in the field for 1 year that are so good, I'm going to them. Likewise, we hiring managers are not HR. So you've got two choices of hiring manager. I hear on my right hand, I've got an 8-year-old little girl with the cutest little pigtails in the world. And the cute little 8-year-old girl decides that she can hacks into the Pentagon. When she's done with the Pentagon, she hacks into the NSA. When she's done hacking in the NSA, the next thing that she hacks into is the MI5 and MI6 in England, then the Israeli Mossad. So this little 8-year-old is hacked into the world's most secure sites. Now, on the opposite end, we have 50 security people in the NSA that all have 30 years experience, and they were beaten by this 8-year-old little girl, which means the 8-year-old little girl is more competent than them. So I fire those 30 and I hire the 8-year-old little girl. That's the thing. Hiring managers care about competence. Competency and experience are two different things. Now, what happens in Mole is they put down experience on the job description, and here's why. The hiring manager will interview you for competency, but HR doesn't know how to interview you. HR can't ask you about the LSAs in Area 0 inside of OSPF. They can't ask you the difference between a type 1, a type 2, a type 3, a type 4, a type 5, or a type 7 LSA. They don't know. So what HR does is assumes, hey, you've been doing this a long time, you must be competent. But no, not at all. So people want competency. So that's why we spend 500 hours training. That's why our students get hired every single day of the week, because we focus on competency. So depth of knowledge is critical. So architects need to know the tech that we talked about, but they also have to remember, this is a transformation job. We are digital transformation specialists. So that means we need to know how to read a balance sheet, a financial statement, perform an ROI model, communicate differently to the CEO versus the CTO to the CFO based upon their communication preferences, what they need to hear. It means that we need to be able to write a business case for something. It means that you need to be able to write an executive format, which is different than the engineering format, which is different than the management format. It requires a separate set of presentation and sales skills, a level of emotional intelligence and leadership skills, because in this job, you might be leading a team of 50 to 100 cloud engineers that are going to go build or do a proof of concept on your design. So that is really why it's so complicated to do these jobs. It's not an experience thing. It's a competency thing. So Amul, here's what employers want. Competency is the number one, the ability to do the job. Not experience, but competency. Number two, can they trust you? Number three, do you know what you know and know what you don't know so you don't make a bunch of mistakes? Number four, they want energy and enthusiasm and passion. Number five, they want someone that can bring out the best in others, which means emotionally intelligent. Number six, they're looking for a team player. And number seven, they're looking for somebody that's willing to go above and beyond. So the second someone says, hey, tell me what the work-life balance is, the interview's over and they're not there. So I hope I answered your question. We get people jobs as cloud architects every day of the week with no experience, but they're competent and more competent. Competency is what matters, not experience. And depth of knowledge is critical. And that's why we say certifications will never give it, because they're just too superficial. Chow, that was a really nice question. You want to bring in the next one? Alonzo, dropping some awesome real-world knowledge, Mike. Thanks, Alonzo. I'm trying to give people everything they need to build their best computer career. I don't like to sugarcoat things. I really want to give everybody what they need so they can get to their goals. Dylan Bell, wow, I love when Dylan comes. So everybody, Dylan Bell is 16. He's a prodigy. By the time he's 25 years old, I can't even imagine what he's accomplished. Dylan, we love having you here. I'm super excited to have you here. What you're going to do is truly, truly amazing. Dylan Bell, when I was 16 years old, I started working on the ambulance service. So I was an EMT by 18. And I was working as a paramedic when I was 19 years old, which is how I paid my way through the school. Let me tell you, when I got done school, life was so easy for me because I had already lived. I already know how to communicate and solve challenges. So good for you. When I was 16, I was not out there doing whatever my friends were doing. I was out there building my career. And that's why within 6 months of my career, I was the first lead architect of the world's largest ISP. And I promise you, with your hard work, dedication, and attitude, energy, enthusiasm, Dylan, so many great things are going to happen to you. So please, everybody, vote for your next boot camp. The link is in the description below. It's going to be in either an Azure boot camp or guess what? It can be a Google Professional Cloud Architect, Azure Solution Architect Expert, Google Professional Cloud Architect. I don't care. We're cloud architects. We can teach any of them at a moment's notice because it's all the same to us. It's just it's like there's a Bon Jovi song. Only the names have changed. All the clouds are identical. Only the names have changed. So we're happy to do this anywhere, anytime. So vote on your next boot camp. It's going to be fun. It's coming in June. If you're having a good time, you can hit the like button, comment, and subscribe. Up and Up. Hey, Mike, where should you read if you want to improve your business knowledge? Well, Up and Up, the easiest thing would be to take our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. It will cost you less for the entire program than it will cost you to get your business knowledge somewhere. But, let's keep this there. So here's the thing. You must know how to read a balance sheet and a financial statement. So how and where could you read that? Well, you can get a finance textbook for that. You also need to be able to read a balance sheet. Now, guess what? That's an accounting textbook, not a finance textbook. Now, CXO relevancy training, the reality is that's going to get expensive. The courses are about $5,000 per week, and you need about 3 to 5 of them for these jobs. We teach the CXO relevancy training in my program, but understand, for this soft skills and business knowledge, I personally paid $250,000 for it. And that's how expensive these skills are. And that's why they can add $100,000 to your salary. So keep that in the back of your mind. And we have them extensively in our Tech Career Accelerator program. And Up, our Tech Career Accelerator program is a leadership and a business knowledge course for technology professionals that want to really maximize their technology career. So you can keep that. And Chell from my team will put a link for that as well in the chat box as well. So keep that in the back of your mind. But what else should you read? You need to learn marketing strategy. You will need to read books on macroeconomics and microeconomics. We teach that because you've got to be able to understand what happens with the supply and demand curve. You have to understand the psychology of people. You have to understand that if this news happens, what will happen for you? For example, Up, U.S. government raises minimum wage. Cloud Architect gets 50 calls the next day by CEOs. How do you lay off people? How do we automate? So you need to be able to understand the dynamics of what's going on in business. The economy gets good. Interest rates go down, or economy gets good. Companies start hiring. So you got to figure out ways to help the company scale better, to be able to leverage more people and do things more efficiently. Economy gets bad. You got to help the company lay off people. What kind of communications, collaboration, supply chain technologies can you put in there? So you literally need to be able to look at the Wall Street Journal, see what's going on in the stock market, and know what you're going to be doing 24 hours later as a good architect. If you really want to be a good cloud architect / enterprise architect, you need to know that much. So I recommend, if you're not taking our course, read Business Week every week, read The Economist, read the Wall Street Journal daily. You really should do that anyway as a good architect. I do. But you probably should have some training in terms of what that actually means. Now, you must be an excellent presenter, so I can recommend taking some presentation skills classes. Again, we provide it. If not, there's a good one in California, Speakeasy. They've got a couple of $3,000 courses for 2 to 3 days where they teach you how to present. We teach that in our program, and our whole program's a whole $750 or $800. But, I don't care where you get it. I just want you getting cloud hired, so I'm telling you how to do that. Now, in addition to the macroeconomics, the finance, the accounting, the marketing skills that you need to know, and the CXO relevancy skills that you need to know, you really need to be able to learn how to build a business case. And unfortunately, that's going to be expensive training, or we train it. But here's the reason. So up and up, when a company says, hey, Mike, I need you to design this technology solution, and they say, we've got $10 million, and the technology solution we come up with is $100 million, you have to create budget in your customer. And how do you create budget? You create an ROI model that shows how the technology can eliminate employee time or eliminate waste or something else. So those are the things that you need to do. So we've got a great training program, or you could do an MBA, which will give you a lot of the skills that we teach. But that's the kind of topic and content that we're talking about to really develop the business acumen for these jobs. We're talking about that much depth of knowledge. So those are some good books that you can read. We do lots of videos on business leadership here, but the majority of our leadership is constrained to our Tech Career Accelerator program, our Cloud Architect Career Development program, and we actually give the same leadership training to our cloud engineers, believe it or not, as well. And the reason we do that is we want our engineers to earn more than the rest, get hired faster than the rest, and have this kind of career progression. So those are the kind of things that you should be able to do. Akuni. I am rounding up your AWS Start Restart training. Please, are there sites resources helpful with trainings vacancies or entry per level positions? Akuni, all that I know about the AWS Restart program is that it only teaches the most basic junior level things that enable cloud admin. Since we don't ever do cloud admin roles and we only train cloud architect or cloud engineering roles, and I've yet to see anybody get the right training from the AWS Restart that would get them a professional job, only an admin job. What we typically do is take the people out of these programs and train them. So Akuni, what you're going to get out of this program is some basic configuration, which for the most part is not going to be enough to do anything, but we'll tell you what it is. So the good news is they do provide excellent training on how their stuff is configured. Excellent. And they do a better job of it than anybody because they're AWS. What they don't do is AWS a good job is telling you why we use the stuff, how the stuff works, or what we could do. So that they don't teach. So, keeping that. And somebody asked if we teach the AWS Architect Expert. That AWS Architect Expert is about 1/10 of what we teach, and that's not even enough to be real. We want to go. I want to stay on the same question, Chow. But I was just including that. That's nothing. That's not even an intro to junior level anything. We teach 1,000 times beyond that in our Cloud Architect Career Development program. But the key is rounding up your restart. Learn some networking, like the kind of networking. Learn about IP addressing, subnetting, and supernetting. Learn about OSPF. Learn about BGP. Learn about NAT, static NAT, dynamic NAT, PAT. Learn about switching and VLANs and VLAN tagging and VLAN trunking. Learn about spanning tree and rapid spanning tree. Learn about ARP, DNS, DHCP. Cool. Then learn about block storage, object storage, and file storage. And not just the AWS kind, the real stuff in the network in the data center. Learn how firewalls and IDS and IPS systems work. And you know what? We have a lot of that training completely free on our channel. We also have a completely free AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional book, which you can read on our channel. We have a free CCNA course on our channel, which will cover most of those networking things that I'm talking about directly on this YouTube channel. And when you start combining things like that and some Linux knowledge and some networking knowledge, now you're starting to be on the playing field where you can start to get into some more junior level engineering skills as opposed to admin skills. And that's going to help you a lot. Add those skills to what you've learned, and now you're doing something good. So take those skills, add them, and then determine what kind of career you want. I will tell you this. If you bump up your communication skills, your sales skills, and your executive presence skills, you'll be much more likely to get hired. And here's what I mean by executive presence. Hi, my name is Mike, and I am an expert in BGP. I have 20 years experience in BGP. Now, are you taking me seriously? Of course you're not. Now, the reality is that's a technical expert. What if I said, hi, my name is Mike. I have 20 years experience in BGP. I've consulted in BGP for the world's largest internet service providers, banks, and healthcare organizations. Now, interesting. Now, do you want to listen to me? The only difference between the first time and the second time is executive presence. I made a point, I paused, I varied my vocal tone. So those kind of things really matter. So, Akuni, realize you've got a good start. Take the start. Add some Linux knowledge, add some networking knowledge, add some data center knowledge, and add some cloud knowledge, and go out there and get cloud hired. And you'll be there and you'll do great. The key is taking this, realizing what the start is, realizing what the missing elements are. And the elements are networking, they're Linux, they're compute, they're storage, they're security. Because Akuni and AWS, they teach us the vendor proprietary thing. Hey, secure your system with WAF and Shield, right? But in reality, we're not going to be using WAF and Shield because it's proprietary and it's not good enough. We're going to want to use something that's self-healing, for example, and that means a next generation firewall that's enterprise grade, and that means a non-proprietary cloud service. So Akuni, now you kind of know why there's only a little bit of validity that actually comes from these things, but there's still so many wonderful things that are still good. So you kind of keep that in the back of your mind, then you'll understand why. But start with it. The AWS part is good. Get the networking part, get the Linux part, and go get cloud hired. Tell us when you do. Will, oh, you need a job ASP, and there's so many AWS positions out there. How would you manage getting an AWS job coming out of a manager director exam? Well, that'd be easy. You sit from the CSAA test in 10 days. So, Will, I'm going to tell you, if your whole goal is to get an AWS position by getting certified, you're approaching it incorrectly. So, Will, there are thousands of AWS positions coming out of there. But if you tell me what career you would like, then I can build you a plan. But right now, you're just saying AWS positions. And I got to tell you, the only position that I know how to get you to right now immediately is another manager or director. So tell me what career you would like. Want to be an architect? Good. That manager director is going to be a much easier transition than if you wanted to do engineering. But tell me the career you want and what kind of manager director are you? Because a director at Cisco, where you're responsible for $1 billion operation, is different than a director at a 3-person company where you're responsible for 500,000. So if you can tell me what kind of director you are and what kind of things you've been working in and what your actual goal job is, I can build you a plan. But the reason I have to be so specific is imagine going to an airport and there's all these planes. One goes to Dubai, one goes to Nairobi, one goes to London, one goes to Athens, Greece, one goes to Constantinople or Istanbul, Turkey, one goes to Brisbane, Australia, one goes to Lagos, Nigeria, one goes to Cape Town, South Africa, one goes to Sao Paulo, Brazil, one goes to Rio in Brazil, et cetera, et cetera. And right now, basically, you said, I want an AWS job. And that's kind of like saying, hey, I want to go to the airport and say, Mike, which plane should I get on? And that's kind of like, you want to go to Brazil or Africa or Australia or England? Tell me your destination. So tell me your destination and I can help you. But there's a million and different kinds of jobs that you can do in the cloud. So I kind of need to know a little bit about what you mean by that. Well, Abhishek Sarkar, you're asking two ridiculous questions. Competition has a negative competition. Competition is good. When you have no competition, here's what happens. The status quo. Competition breeds innovation. Competition is great. No competition means everything is stale. In communist Russia, they had no competition because it was communist Russia. People waited for days and weeks in bread lines to be able to eat. That's what happens in no competition. In the US, we had no competition for a while. We had one phone company. It would cost you like 50 cents a minute to call your girlfriend in Florida from Philadelphia when I was younger, 30 years ago. Now we have competition. All of a sudden, we don't pay for phone lines, etc. Competition is a great thing. How can you run above the competition and have a monopoly? Well, if you're a trillionaire, Abhishek, then maybe you can do it. But unless you're a trillionaire, you can't have a monopoly. And if you did have a monopoly, the government would break you up because a monopoly is anti-competition, or at least they used to. So there's no chance that you can rise above the competition and have a monopoly. Now, the real question is, how do you rise above everybody else? And how do you get promoted? Not how do you crush everyone else? Because if your goal is how to crush everybody else, Abhishek Sarkar, I can tell you this, you'll never get ahead. Because all you're going to do is crush one person's dreams, and now you're going to have an enemy that's going to try and crush you. And if you crush 1 or 2, 3 people's dreams along the way, I promise you, they will crush you faster than you can. So it's competition, like I told you before. You go do the best you can and give your team credit for the best they can. I'll work on a project. Let's say my team is here. Let's say that's me, Leo, and Chow working on a project. And the project comes out great. Who's going to get the credit for it? Leo and Chow, not me. I'm just the guy that brought in the smartest people in the room to do the job. Now, that's how I built my career. I closed $1 billion deal. Customer would be dissatisfied, and I talk about my team that built this success. We'd issue 15 press releases. We'd be in 30 magazines about the thing and the solution. And you know what? I never mentioned my name once. Now, granted, I was being interviewed by the press constantly, but I never mentioned my name once because I give credit to the others, not me. So the key is be generous. It's karma. Give out, put energy in the system, and good things come back to you. Treat others with respect, integrity, and decency, and the world comes back to you. There's no way to crush your competition. I mean, I could do it, but here's the thing. It'll hurt you. In fact, I'll give you the best example I could. When I joined Cisco over 20 years ago, I was there on my first day. And oh my God, this person was welcome to see me. This person was welcome to see me. This person was welcome to see me. And I met this guy, Tom, and I shook his hand. He's like, "Hi, Mike." And I never understood why. So I met so many wonderful people. And after being at Cisco for about 10 days, I said, "Tom, can I buy you lunch?" And he's like, "Sure." So we go to lunch and I say, Tom, did I offend you in any way? And he says, "You've done nothing wrong." I said, "Because it looks like you're frustrated when you're around me. And as far as I can tell, you're the nicest, smartest guy here. And I really like you, but I don't know what I did to offend you." And he says, "Mike, it's not your fault. But I'm like, tell me, how can I fix it?" And he's like, "Well, here, Mike." He said, "I was promised your job. And apparently the company has to interview 3 external candidates before they can give it to someone they've already committed it to. And apparently when you interviewed, they hired you and canceled my job." And I went, "Oh my God, Tom, I'm so sorry." Now, Tom says, "It's not your fault." And I said, "I'm so sorry." Now, let me tell you, when I worked with Tom was one of the best I've ever met. I love the guy as if he was my brother. Every day I told my manager how great Tom was. I told my manager's manager how great Tom was. I told Tom's manager how great Tom was. 2 months later, when I moved into the new job, or 3 months later, Tom had my job. So the point is, it's not about rising above the competition. It's making sure that you're so good that you stand out on your own and you bring everybody up. Remember what hiring managers want. They want someone that's technically competent, that's honest, with integrity, someone that knows what they know and knows what they don't know, someone that's energetic and enthusiastic, and someone that brings out the best in others, someone that's a team player, and someone that's willing to go above and beyond. So when the rest of the world is asking about work-life balance, you work harder. You stand out. When the rest of the world is complaining, you say, "Let's go after it. I can solve this problem." When you're in a team meeting and the world's hiding, I need somebody to do this. Nobody's like hiding under the desk. I got it. Volunteer in front of your manager and your manager's manager. Woohoo, you're the professional. Stand out by being the best. It's easy to be the best. It's easy to be the best. The cream always rises to the top. So be better, be good, be honest, integrity with ethics, and then you're going to go. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind, and that's what it's going to take. Up and up. How do you improve your emotional intelligence? Well, a lot. So emotional intelligence is about controlling your emotions as well as other people's emotions. So first, you need to learn how to control your emotions. So there's lots of ways you can do that, but it takes lots of time. So yoga, meditation, cognitive behavior therapy, other emotional control techniques, that's how you control yours. And we teach them in our Cloud Architect Career Development Program. Now, how else? You got to control other people's emotions. So that has to do with your empathy. That has to do with the way you ask questions, your tonality of voice, the way you do things, your body language, your posture, your ability to establish rapport by design, creation, etc. So all those kind of things. So how do you do that? Well, realistically speaking, the only people that I know that are properly trained on emotional intelligence are medical professionals. And I can tell you that I feel blessed that because I used to practice internal medicine before I went into tech 25 years ago, that's how I learned emotional intelligence. See, we're taught how do you tell somebody they have cancer. We're taught how to tell somebody they're dying. We're taught how to deliver bad news. "I'm sorry, ma'am, your husband was in an accident. We've done everything we could to try and save him, but it just wasn't enough." So because of that, we have special emotional intelligence training. So I recommend training for it. Now, personally, we train it well. Good emotional intelligence training, which can realistically make $1 million plus difference in your career, will cost you a good $5,000 to $10,000. Daniel Goleman does some good emotional intelligence training. We have our own special formula that we've worked on for decades, which I'm very, very proud of, which is based on the combination of executive levels of emotional intelligence, doctor and nurse training, and emotional intelligence, and that's what we use. The Daniel Goleman book is a good start, but realistically speaking, where all those bucks end up are in the following places. They're all about teaching you what is emotional intelligence, but they don't teach you the emotional control you need for yourself. And if you're not in control of yourself, you can know everything well. And as soon as you lost it. So the key is controlling your emotions. So personally, about 16 years ago, I was sentenced to yoga by a martial arts instructor. They said, Mike, your high sidekick's not high enough. If you want that additional black belt, you're going to have to do this. And I went, okay. So I was sentenced to yoga, 90 days of yoga 3 times a week. I walked in that first yoga class. Well, admittedly, when I sat there and they said, put your hands at heart center and say, Om, I started laughing hysterically. I thought this was going to be like some nightmare. Anyway, 10 minutes later, into some breathing thing and some kind of standing balance, I found peace. And I found that yoga helped me control my emotions, lower my heart rate, control my breathing. In fact, I've loved it so much that I took a 200-hour and a 500-hour yoga instructor program to learn how to control my emotions. I've also taken special training in autogenic meditation, breathing type meditations, and other things. And I use these with my clients on a daily basis. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But also, I've taken a tremendous amount of training. But Daniel Goleman's work is probably the best work here, but it doesn't talk about controlling your emotions. So I'd say learn how to control your emotions. We use a special blend of things we worked with. Control your emotions and others, and you'll be in good shape. Dash it. Okay, I'm glad you defined MERN, MongoDB, Express, React, Node.js is your definition. What about it? I mean, it's like saying an Apple cell phone. What about it? What is it that you want to know about it? Ciao, we can go to the next one. Darshit, I have no idea what kind of career you're just spouting off technology, so I don't really know if it's good or not. So what would you like to do? Because you're just telling me tech, and tech is only a third of any career. So maybe you can tell me what that all means, what you're trying to do, and then I can tell you if this is valuable or not. As you're growing old, will it be difficult to keep up with technology and upgrade IT skills as you grow old? I don't think so. How can you cement yourself in a field where you're going to have to struggle? So Abhishek Sharkar, I don't think you guys understand this. Let me tell you, I've been in tech now for 25 years. And if I told you what AWS is doing now, Cisco was doing in 1985, it's true. So in 1970, the IBM created the virtualization. That is the foundation for the EC2 instance today. In 1985, Cisco allowed routing in between subnets. Oh my God, AWS issued a press release last year that they allow routing between subnets. So Abhishek Shankar, it's nothing new. It's all iterations of the same thing. The first cloud I worked on was in 1996. It was called Frame Relay. The next cloud I worked with was called ATM. The next cloud I worked on was specified in IETF RFC 2547. That was around 1999. Around 2001, the next cloud I worked on was VPLS. Around 2010, we started working on this kind of cloud. It's all the same and nothing's new. So Cisco in 2005 invented a private VLAN, which the VLAN where the servers and the VLAN couldn't talk to each other. Around 2010, that became a container. Cisco invented a virtual LAN, which was taking a switch and chopping it up into virtual switches 30 years ago. Oh, wait, VMware did it 20 years ago, and that's now the foundation of a virtual machine. So Abhishek Shankar, if your fundamentals are good, you're going to see nothing has changed. All the cloud is a modern version of a 40-year-old data center. Nothing's changed. Same virtual machines, same equivalent containers, same DNS, same ARP, proxy, ARP, NAT. It's all of the same. So here's the thing. It's so easy to keep up with tech if you know the tech. Now, that's the difference. People that have what I call certification knowledge, which I call worthless knowledge, which is the name of a service and how to configure it, don't understand how things work. And then something changes 3%, and oh my God, it's a new scary service. But if you really know it, you're never lost. So, Abhishek Sarkar, can you drive? I don't know how old you are, but I learned to drive when I was, say, 18 years old. My 18-year-old Nissan Sentra, I turned a car. It had a 2-button, it had like 3 buttons for the radio, and I had to manually open the windows with a crank. And, it didn't have power steering, but it was the only thing I could afford. And guess what? I drove it. It had a seatbelt. Now, I got in the car, and then, you know what happened? I was a couple of years older. I could afford something a little more. I got a Nissan Altima. It wasn't a great car. I didn't love it, but I had it. And now it had power windows, and it had a CD player, and it was really great. Had that car for a couple of years, and then I bought a Honda, a real nice one. I loved it. Woohoo! Guess what? I got in that car. It had different technology. And you know what? I still knew how to drive it. Then a year later, I had a nightmare. And in the nightmare, I was in a massive car accident. I woke up in the middle of the night and said to my wife, I'm buying a Volvo. And she says, no, you're not. I said, I'm buying a Volvo. I was in a bad car accident in my dream. She says, buy the Volvo. 2 days later, I was in a massive car accident. The Volvo was totaled. And I took a taxi, gave a presentation, and closed a $40 million deal and got a promotion out of it. And then, you know what? I had another Volvo. I kept it for like 16 years. And when that thing finally, when I opened the glove box and it fell out, I bought a Mercedes the next day. And guess what? When I drive that, it's got all kinds of things in the mirrors now. It beeps if there's somebody in a blind spot. The seats, you can heat them up. It's got all this cool technology. You know what? I still drive the thing, Abhishek, and I haven't changed anything. Now, why? Is because I learned how to drive. So Abhishek, if you learn the tech, if you truly learn the network in the data center, you know the network in the data center, the AWS cloud, the Azure cloud, the Google cloud, the OpenStack cloud, the Oracle cloud, et cetera, et cetera. So the key is when you have good fundamentals, you'll be able to adapt. That's the secret in medicine. How do we stay current? We learn the fundamentals so well. When you are an expert or a master on the fundamentals, everything's easy. I've done martial arts for 30 plus years. You know what? Whether it's a palm heel strike, a hammer fist, or an elbow strike, or an upward elbow, those same basic strikes that we learned in the beginning are pretty much the same that we fight with even with 30 years of experience. So get your fundamentals good. Know it inside and out, like the back of your hand, the inside of your heart. When your fundamentals are so strong, everything else becomes silly easy. So Abhishek, that's the thing. That's how you do it. That's how I do it. And you'll always become. Before we go on to the next one, if you've just joined us, I've got to tell you right now, we're running an intro special price of 50% off on our Cloud Engineer Career Development Program. It's a single-stop shop to get you your first cloud engineering job. We won't be having this sale for much longer, so take advantage of it. If you've ever wanted your first cloud engineer job, this will get you there. And of course, we have our Cloud Architect Career Development Program if you want to become a cloud architect, and we get people hired every day. But we had so many people that we got hired as cloud architects, and so many people said, Mike, please help me become a cloud engineer. You asked, we did it, so it's here for you. And for a limited period of time, it's half off. So please download. The link is in the description below. The coupon code is engineer for 50% off. Byron, when developing a business relationship with clients, how often, if ever, do they turn into personal friendships? Well, Byron, all the time. All the time. So, here's the thing. I remember I've consulted the clients my whole life. And I become almost better cases, sometimes friends with my clients than my actual company. Here's the thing. If you treat every client the way you'd like to be treated yourself, that golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. And if you treat your clients like that, Byron, they will turn into personal friends. They will turn into your allies. If you ever get fired or want a new job, they will hire you themselves. They are amazing. Now, here's the thing, Byron. As an architect, we must be concerned with our customer success. Guess what? As an engineer, we still need to be concerned with our customer success. That's what matters. And it's such a degree that, Byron, I've been an architect forever, and I've closed more deals by telling the customer not to buy my stuff than they buy my stuff. And here's what I mean. Many years ago, I was in Dubai. About 20 years ago, with this beautiful voice data and video solution. Loved it. And while I was there, it was like my 6th trip there. And I was working for a company called Riverstone. Cisco had developed a better product at that time. We initially had a better product, but then Cisco did. And I was on the customer site. It was like my 6th trip. And when a customer says to me, Mike, is your solution really better than Cisco's right now? No, I'm a yoga person, a martial artist. So I always take a deep breath before I come up with an answer when it's a tough question. So I go, and I say, Rizwan, I have to be honest with you. Temporarily, the Cisco solution's 8 to 10% better than ours. It is. I'd love to continue to have your business. I'd love to keep designing it the way it is, but the Cisco solution's about 8 to 10% better. And if you chose that solution, I wouldn't be offended in any way, shape, or form because I might do the same thing if I was you. But our solutions work for you. It's this, this, and this. Rizwan grabs the person in charge and they speak to each other for 30 seconds. You know what happens? Mike, I want to buy this. Well, let me tell you, in my medical career, I've said, don't buy this. And then they say, okay, Mike, since you don't think I should do this, we trust you. What should we do? And then you make a hospital more profitable. Wow, amazing things happen. So yes, Byron, I've become friends with lots of my customers. In fact, I can think of one customer, Tony. He was working for a customer and a process. He and I became such good friends. I was in the sales side. He was on the customer side. That one day when we had lunch, he says, Mike, I really want to work on your team. And I went to my manager. My manager's like, we can't hire from customers. And I went to my manager. He can't hire from customers. And let's just say I went to enough people until I could hire my customer. And I hired my customer. And not only was he great for the company, 20 years later, he's still at the company. So yes, I often develop personal relationships with lots of people. My staff, my customers, and everywhere in between. I encourage it, by the way. Dylan Bell. Mike, may I tell you what you're planning to do? And if there's better to do, of course, you're going to college, probably, good, to do an electrical engineering. And after that, you're going abroad for a business MBA and enrolling in your cloud program. So thanks so much, Mr. Mike. Your honesty is like a father figure I don't have. So Dylan Bell, I am so sorry. And please keep coming. I will do anything I can to guide you. Please keep coming. It's my honor to help you. I love the concept of going to school for electrical engineering. I think that's great. Now, Dylan Bell, electrical engineering melds well towards networking, but only networking. So if your goal is to become a networking person, I think it's great. Now, having said all of that, is electrical engineering the right one? It's a good, strong one. Is computer engineering a good one? It's a good, strong one. Is a business degree a good one? Yes. I think any of those are good. Now, the concept of getting an MBA, I love. Now, having said that, traveling and seeing Europe, I love, but I probably wouldn't do the MBA in Europe. I would probably approach my MBA in one of the two things. I would either go top 10 or get the cheapest price you possibly can on it. And here's the thing. If you go to the Harvard, the Yale, the Stanford, the Duke, the Rice, the Columbia, there's a brand that's got, and what's different about these schools, they actually teach soft skills and emotional intelligence in addition to just the stuff that's taught everybody else. So those are the things that actually, and the alumni are worth the help with those. If you're not, go to the cheapest place you can get your MBA from. Now, when you're doing your MBA, Dylan, and you're going to college, I want you to be better. So if you're taking a marketing class, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to Audible and buy the 3 best-selling books on marketing. And while you're taking your marketing course, which is going to be taught by a marketing professor who may or may not have ever worked in marketing, you do that and you still read those 3 books. You go to economics class, you do the same thing. So that's what I did in my MBA program. So my MBA program obviously had like 30 or 40 books, and then I did a few hundred more books while I was there. So Dylan Bell, one of the things that I like to do is I like audiobooks. So here's what I recommend. Do you like to walk, Dylan? If you do, get an audiobook. Walk an hour a day and listen to an audiobook. Every 10 days, you'll listen to a new book. So there's that. Now, taking our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, we'd love to work with you. We can work with you now. You can stay on our program while you're in college. I don't even care. So even if it's the whole time, Dylan, I know that sounds crazy. I just really want to see you do well. So you could do that if you wanted. But what I think is keep getting good grades in high school. While you're there, really try and focus on learning how to talk to people. Really, it's a good thing to do. If you have the ability, Dylan, to join Toastmasters, it's free. We have a chance to give some presentations. Really go out there and do it. Study. Learn electrical engineering, great. Or computer engineering, great. While you're in school, focus on your business skills, your communication skills. When everybody else is worried about joining a fraternity or sorority, getting drunk or whatever, you can focus on developing your professional development skills. And I don't have anything against sororities or fraternities. It's just that I had no time to do anything like that in college. When my peers were getting drunk, I was working full-time as a firefighter paramedic. That was what I did. because I couldn't afford it. I had no money, and it was the only way I could get through school. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So keep doing it. Keep working hard. Keep learning about as much tech. Get your hands dirty, Dylan. Take a computer, erase Windows, and put Linux on it, and just use it. Play with it. Take advantage of every free thing that we have to offer, which we have lots of, like our free boot camps, and keep popping on. You pick up some gems, and I can't wait to see what you become. Byron Rops, tips on developing an effective study plan in general. Now, Byron, here's the thing. Lots of people call me and say, "Hey, Mike, I want to know everything that's in your cloud engineering program to know if it's good." And then I say to them, "Are you working as a cloud engineer?" And they say no. And I say, if you're not working as a cloud engineer, you don't even know what you know, or you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you need to know. So we put together the program to know. So Byron Ross, first we need to know what your career is. Then we need to know exactly what you know and then what you don't know. And then we can put together the exact study plan. So if you were to take a course like mine, the study plan is there. You got lesson 1 through lesson 1,000. It's pretty straightforward. Do it in order. You'll be there. But if you're on your own, first, what it is the following. And this is what I did in the beginning of my career. Here's how I got my first job. The first thing I did, Byron Russ, was that everybody does, which doesn't work. I spent $30,000 on certifications, had 6 certifications, and tried to apply for jobs. Tried this 25 years ago. Guess what? That doesn't work. I had 6 certifications. I had a CCNP, a CCDP, and an MCSC, and I had 3 junior certifications, a CCNA, a CCDA, and a Microsoft Certified Professional. Guess what? There wasn't a single employer in the world that cared. For good reasons. Certifications are irrelevant. Then what I do, Byron Ross, I asked 50 recruiters, 50 of them, 50 good recruiters that told me exactly what the hiring manager wanted, exactly what the net goal was. So here's the goal. And then you have to take a deep introspective stock at who you are. If this is what's needed and this is where you're at, then you then need to do a gap analysis. What do I need to go from here to here? That's the biggest thing. And if you've not worked in this career before, you're not even going to know what you don't know. So if that's the case, what I recommend you do is you find someone with the title of principal, distinguished in the role. Don't ever ask anybody that's looking for the job, because they won't know and they're going to give you bad advice. Don't ask anybody who's junior in the job, because they don't know. They don't even know how they got there. So you've got to ask someone that's principal or distinguished in their role. What are the skills for the job? When they tell you that, or the hiring manager tells you that, or a senior manager tells you that, and you know exactly what the hiring manager wants, not a job description, a hiring manager, and you know where you're at, then you can build the gap analysis. Then once you know the gap analysis, you have to figure out what you need to know. Is it BGP, for example? Is it Linux? Is it Terraform? Is it IP addressing? Is it supernetting? Is it route aggregate? Figure out what you need, master those things, and then keep doing that until you get your goal. So that's generally how I develop the study plan. But with anything, a goal without a plan is just a dream. So build your plan and execute on the plan, and then you're going to get there. That's, how you build a plan. Whereas this is more of a concept where we talk about, but I'll answer your question anyway, careers versus technology. Virtualization is this. If I had a full pizza or a big giant piece of naan, and I chopped it into little pieces, that's virtualization. All virtualization is you chop one server into a bunch of small servers. You chop a switch, and you do a bunch of small switches. So same thing. Take a pizza, cut it into multiple pieces, and there you go. That's virtualization. So, Chow, you can go to the next one. Pawan, it's so good to see you. Cloud Hired. If you're having a good time, if you can hit the like button or comment, subscribe, tell others. Mr. Businessman over there in Atlanta, Georgia. Given the state of the economy and how technology is advancing, what technology do you think will most benefit from cloud architecture being needed on? Well, Mr. Businessman, here's what I see going on right now. I see critical supply chain problems. I also see 8 to 20% inflation that does not feel transient, depending upon the thing. The Fed has raised rates multiple times, And the cost to employers of employees were up 9.2% in September, which realistically means we've got runaway inflation like now, which is sky high. The labor participation rate in the US is not great, even though the unemployment is numbers, which means there's lots of people that gave up looking for jobs. The cost to employ people is going up, and the cost to obtain things is going up, which is going to put us into two challenges. Either or businesses have what's called price elasticity, which means they can raise their prices. And if that occurs, what will happen is companies will pay their employees more, raise their prices. The employees will get paid more, but their money will be so devalued it'll be worth less anyway. That's option one. Option one is we have runaway inflation, and we are 50% there. Now, the alternative is, which is most likely, I think, going to happen, because we've had runaway inflation, and we have relatively not great numbers of unemployment. I mean, it looks good at the unemployment number, but when you start, extracting and pulling about the labor participation rate, which is the number of people that would actually want to work, that are actually working, versus the number of people that are actually unemployed and not looking for jobs anymore, the numbers don't look as rosy. Now, the Fed has basically raised 50 basis points twice, and it looks like they have to do it. We've already had 1 quarter of negative GDP growth, and 2 quarters of negative GDP growth equals a recession. So, Mr. Businessman, I think we're headed for a recession in the next 6 months to a year, if we're not already in the beginning parts of it. And because of that, what industries will benefit from cloud? Everybody. So what's going to happen, Mr. Businessman? As things get worse, organizations will say, hey, the cloud is cheaper than my data center. Yes, my data center performs better, and it's faster, but wait, the cloud is cheaper, so start migrating stuff to the cloud. Now, the next thing that we start looking at is saying, okay, if this is going on, now what? Now, we know the cost of labor is going up. So when the cost of labor goes up, and it's really hard to hire people, one of two things will happen. They'll either outsource to other countries and get really great people, which is possible. Option two, and most likely is going to occur, is we will be dealing with layoffs. Now, who gets laid off, Mr. Businessman? Not the best people. So be the best, and you don't ever have to worry about getting laid off. So when the layoffs or the redundancies occur, be better skilled. So what's going to happen? I think as salaries go up, it'll be like the McDonald's. They no longer have people in the front. You now push your button. It'll be like the cashierless grocery store that Amazon's done. You walk in there, they don't have employees there. So all industries are going to benefit from cloud architects, because cloud architects are always called in during good times and bad times. In good times, the cloud architects are, hey, help me expand. In bad times, with cloud architects and enterprise architects are like, hey, Mike, help me lay off and still make just as much money. So you'll be doing lots of work. You'll be looking for automation technologies right now. You'll be looking at communication and collaboration technologies. We'll be dealing with technologies to optimize supply chains right now. We're going to be working on technologies and strategic outsourcing to reduce cost to businesses. That's what we're going to be dealing with right now, Mr. Businessman. And I see that coming for the next year. Great time right now to still get into your cloud architect career. And here's the reason why. There's still such a critical shortage of this job. And there's still such a problem with the great resignation going on in the US, where it's nearly impossible to find a capable worker. So now is your time to go out there and conquer it. But what goes up? Right now, the supply chain is going to be really where we're most struggling. But that will constantly change based upon the dynamics. And Mr. Businessman, let's assume we have a recession coming up. Now, we cloud architects during the recession. Guess what? We're helping the businesses make more money, survive with lower resources, and stay agile. Now, what happens at the end of a recession? The Fed will typically cut interest rates, assuming we don't have an inflation problem. We'll see what happens in the future. Then free money comes available, and then people start spending. And then companies invest in new services to grow business. So, Mr. Businessman, good economy, where they hire us to bring in more money. Bad economy, the companies hire us to save the money. In either case, with cloud architects, we are basically immune from economic challenges, because our job is always improving performance, whether it be through shaving expenses or increasing sales. All industries. Drake Caro. So you're asking a question, and so the question is, I don't know what job you're talking about. But I'll tell you one thing. You got lots of jobs without getting any certifications. In fact, Drake, I just had a student get hired as a cloud architect by a very good company, and he had 0 certifications when he got hired. Now, He was there a month and he took an AWS exam, but he was hired as the cloud architect first. But here's the thing, Drake. He took my 500-hour program, so he was competent. Now, Drake, my buddy Wade, got hired as a cloud architect with no cloud certifications, but he was a networking guy. I have lots of people that can get hired without AWS certifications, but they have to be competent, capable, and knowledgeable. Certifications won't get anybody a job. Never. In fact, the only certification that'll get anybody a job is the Cisco Certified Internet Expert. And the reason why? It's about 50 to 100,000 pages of reading just to get through it. And you got to build something in front of the instructors. Or the CCD, the Cisco Certified Design Expert. Everything else is too basic. So you might want to ask me, tell me which career you'd like, and then I could tell you the roadmap to get there. But certifications are just certifications. You get lots of jobs without certifications. You get a job without a college degree, too. You can be hired by AWS as a cloud architect without a college degree, too. Or a certification, but they want knowledge. So here's the difference. We can't confuse certification with competency. Certification is the name of the service and how to configure that service. I'm an architect. Last time I configured a service was 25 years ago. For real. I mean, I may do it for fun, just in my head, just to say, cool, I can still do it. But architects don't touch the tech. So the key is, but architects need to know how the tech works and how to design the tech. So the key is that it's not the certification. It's the knowledge, the competency that matters. So tell us what career you like and we can help you. But right now, can you get a job? Sure. I got lots of jobs without any AWS certifications. But you can even be hired by AWS without a certification, but not if you don't know. It's about the knowledge. So if you're looking to get your first cloud engineering job, right now we have a completely free, we have a 50% off discount code. We're using the coupon code ENGINEER for the cloud engineering program. Our students in our architect program are getting hired every single day. And for those of you who want to become engineers, you've asked us and we created it. So we have the Cloud Engineer Career Development Program to help all you get cloud hired as a cloud engineer as well. Yes. Destination Solutions Architect. Director experience was outpatient family focused program on administration, workflow process, hiring, and training. Okay. So realistically speaking, you're going to need much more executive skills than the kind of director skills that you actually have in a healthcare clinic. You're going to need more of the skills of the CEO of the healthcare institution. That's the kind of executive communication and management skills that we're talking about. I come from the healthcare background, so I wouldn't say the most healthcare VPs have it. We need a little more. And I used to practice internal medicine. I was a nurse before that. I'm a nurse practitioner, so I get this. So I would say the good news is your director skills are half of the business acumen and leadership skills you need, and it's an extremely, extremely good start. Now, what I will tell you, Will, is you're used to dealing with unruly people and insurance companies and other kinds of things. Those skills are going to be hugely beneficial to you. And the other skill that's going to be hugely beneficial to you are patient comes in, they don't have the right insurance, their plan's been messed up, they have alcohol and drug problems, etc., complicated family dynamics. And what you actually have to do to enable people to be able to get the job done, wow, Will, that is basically being a solution architect right there. So for those things, you are going to be in great shape. You'll still need more executive presence, more leadership skills, more OM modeling, more CXO relevancy, but those other skills, yeah, you got it. Now, you will need to know network and data center skills, because what do we do as a cloud architect? Well, we take the stuff from the network and the data center and move it to the cloud. So what does that mean? It means BGP, it means OSPF, it means WAN technology, such as IPsec tunnels, SSL-based VPNs, IPsec-based VPNs, Ethernet private lines, Ethernet over MPLS, software-defined networking, and SASE. They're the main WANs we're going to deal with. It involves switching, spanning tree, rapid spanning tree, VLANs, VLAN tagging, VLAN trunking, like ISL trunks and 802.1n trunks. After that, it's going to involve DNS, DHCP, ARP, proxy, ARP, and some of those other protocols. Beyond that, I think those are most of the networking things. And you'll need to know servers and server virtualization, containers and container orchestration, block storage, object storage, and file storage. And not what they cover in these certifications, but real knowledge that you would get from Dell, EMC, or IBM, the real Debbie data center knowledge. Then you should learn about load balancers. And I mean, you're going to need about 100 times more than they cover in the Certified Solution Architect Professional. But good news, you can get it free from F5 if you don't get it from us. They've been making load balancers for 20 years. What else after all that cool stuff? Well, you need to learn about firewalls, next generation firewalls, IDS, IPS, intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, VPN concentrators, and you can get all that documentation free from Cisco, Palo Alto Networks, Checkpoint, as well as Fortinet. So you need those kind of things. And that's really where you're going to get your technical training. But remember, this is a position of design. So it's not about how to configure. Like all this stuff in configuration, like here's the things you click. We don't click anything. We design. So think of it this way. So in medicine, we've got a doctor that interviews the client, does an intake, a history and physical, writes the treatment orders. That's the architect. Then we have a nurse that carries out the doctor's orders, or a psychologist that carries out the orders, or a behavioral therapist or a PT that carries out the orders. That's the engineer. So, Charlie, you want to bring in the next one? Cool dude 5699. What did I do to stand out among all others that you worked with in your career to get promoted faster? Well, there's a couple things. One, the first thing I did is all my peers, hey, I'm going to learn this, and this. And I said, you're crazy. I'm going to learn these two things and master it. So cool dude 5699, 90% of your people want to learn everything. And you know what a jack of all trades is? It's a hobbyist in everything. So I'm going to tell you 90% of the people, they want to come to me, they want to be cloud architects, they want to learn Linux and Python and DevOps and SysOps. And I'm like, you'll never be hired. And you know what they usually do? They do it for 2 years. Then they come back to me and they say, Mike, I can't get hired. And I say, because you know everything other than architecture. And they say, but the certification people tell me to do this. And I said, well, certification people can't get you hired. That's what we created our company. So what did I do? I mastered my skill and not somebody else's. But really, what did I do? I'm going to tell you right now. So, and it should be a big wake-up call for all of you. How did I get promoted? Well, about 20 years ago, I got really lucky. I was taking a CISSP boot camp, and I fell asleep in it because it was so boring. And when I was in the boot camp, my manager tapped me on the shoulder, drags me out of the room into his office. And I proceeded to think, uh-oh, Mike's getting in trouble. He fell asleep in a boring certification class. And when I get into my manager's office, something happened. He handed me like a piece of paper, which was like an envelope, and inside there was a $5,000 spiff. It was called something called the CAP Award. And inside of that was like, if you do something good, they'd come up with an excuse to give you money. And that I was super excited about. But something else happened. In my room, my manager pulls me in aside and he says, Mike, I got to talk to you. He says, I don't know what to do with you. And I said, talk to me. And he says, you're not like the rest of everybody else. And I'm like, okay. He says, your team complains about you every day. He said, your team comes to the office every day and attends every meeting. He said, Mike, this is the first time I've seen you in 6 weeks. He said, you go to the customer site every day. They go to the office every day. I said, well, yeah, I'm an architect. Shouldn't I be learning what my customer needs as opposed to hanging out and telling jokes around the water cooler? And my manager says, well, your team complains about you every day for not being here. I told them that they could sell and design half as much as you did. I'd give them a promotion. So keep doing what you're doing. Then my manager said something different to me. He said, Mike, he said, do you know the difference between a $150,000 systems engineer, sales engineer like you, and that was 20 years ago, and a $300,000 enterprise architect? And I was like, tell me. And he says to me, it's Mike. He said, you like tech, right? He said, you're one of the original CCAs. He said, guess what? You can get every tech certification and learn everything tech known to man, and you know what? Your salary's not going to go up. And I went, uh-oh. And he said, here's the thing. He said, your IQ only gets you so far. He said, you've already maxed that out. He said, you want to get ahead? I said, yeah. He said, here's what you need to do. Increase the impact you do on your customers, which means I need you to improve your communication skills, your sales skills, your executive presence. I need you to have an impact where you can walk in the CEO and show that CEO that your $1 billion design is going to save them $3 billion, and it better do it. I need you to be able to lead a team of 50 engineers as an architect. I need you to speak at industry conferences, participate at executive briefings. My manager says, would you like training? I'm like, really? Yeah. So between the company and me, $250,000 was spent in over 12 to 18 months. 18 months later, it was completely paid back. I earned it more from the increases in my salary. What was the difference between a $150,000 person and the $300,000 person? Leadership skills, sales skills, business acumen, emotional intelligence, ROI modeling, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So why do I put so much leadership in our cloud architect course and our cloud engineering course? And why did we create the Tech Career Accelerator program? Because everybody should have no problem getting a job. Anybody that wants to earn $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 in their career should be able to by developing the right skills. So that's why we develop these skills and train the programs that we do. So you don't just start out as a basic techie. You take that basic cloud architect job, and even if the first one's $120,000 to $150,000, and that's pretty low, but even if it is, you can rise to the bigger jobs. And what is it? It's the impact you make to your customer. So the more you can increase your impact, the more the changes. Now, who do you think can increase the impact? CEO, I've got these 10,000 switches and routers for you and 40,000 virtual machines, and they're excited. Do you think that CEO is going to buy anything from you? No. CEO, we've evaluated your business. I brought in a team of 180 cloud engineers. Upon evaluation of your business and your technology, we feel we can increase your sales by 11% while decreasing your technology operating costs by 14%, which equals $226 million per year. Are you interested in hearing more? Yeah. So it's that kind of knowledge. That's the difference between a basic person that may or may not get hired and somebody that rises to the top. Those are the skills. Alonzo Coleman, my brother over here, love this example. Polish each faucet of the diamond yourself. Yes, that's the secret. Sharpen the tip of the spear. Be so much better than the rest. When everybody else is a chihuahua, be a lion. A big, beautiful lion with beautiful fur, nice mane, giant paws. Be the warrior. Be the lion, not the kitten. Now, I love my kitten, Cindy. She's the cutest thing in the world. But if I was going to go into a bad environment with my cat, Cindy, I'd prefer to have a lion. So be the lion, the king or queen of the jungle. That's what I want for all of you. How can you prove your reading skills and retain reading? Any guidance would be highly appreciated. It's a practice thing. So Abhishek, truth be told, I usually read about 1,000 pages a day. That's just normal for me. And over time, I learned how to do it. Now, I used to be a slow reader. So here's the key. When you read, now if you read my stuff or our blogs, what you're going to notice, there's 2 pages. There's no waste. So what's been going on is people are saying, here's what you should do. What you should do is as follows. You should tell stories. So you go buy a 2-page document and it turns into a 400-page book. So what you really have to do is kind of be able to separate the wheat from that chaff. And by doing that, what I mean is you just got to be able to find the content. Now, I've learned how to do it over time. There was this structured query, this SQ3R method that was used to improve reading efficiency. But for me, I just read, and over time I got good at it. Now, Abhishek, I'm going to tell you this. Some things came easy to me, but most things in life did not. Some things came easy to me. Medicine to me came easy. Not tech. Tech was my love, but it never came easy. I had to fight for it. So for me, I just keep fighting until I get to my goals. That's just me. I fight till I get to my goals. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind that, just keep at it. Do it more and more and more and keep at it. You'll get there. I wish I had a better answer for that one. Dane, how do you close the gap between obtaining certification and understanding how those skills are implemented to the job? Dane, the reality is it's going to be so challenging because the things that are covered in certification aren't even more than 3% of the actual job itself. So what I did is I created a cloud architect career development program and a cloud engineer career development program where I teach the actual real skills on the job. And the reason I do it is as follows. There's so many thousands of certification programs which teach you the name of a service and how to configure that service. But unless you're a junior level admin, we don't do any of that. So for me, it was creating a program that would be work that would help people get to their goals. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So that's what I do. We have a training program that bridges that gap. So because our training program bridges that gap, we are super, super excited for that. So I hope I actually answered your question there. How can you get a job without relevant work experience? Well, it's not a catch-22 situation at all, Abhishek. We have students that do it every single day of the week. Romanik Ivan Tamba did it. Jeffrey West did it. Coyote did it. I could give you hundreds and hundreds of people over the years that I've helped get jobs without experience. No, you don't fake work experience. You prove competency. Experience is meaningless. I know doctors that have been killing people as doctors for 50 years. They were assassins, not healers when they started. And I think they'd have a better job as a hitman 50 years later than as a doctor because I've seen them kill so many people. But they've been doing it for a long time. Competency, competency, competency. Abhishek, my first job, they wanted 10 years experience. I had none. My second job that I took 6 months later, they wanted 15 years experience. I had 6 months. But I was competent and no employer cared. And no employer really does care except for a few. Competency matters. So who do you hire? The 6-year-old that breaks into the Pentagon or the 50-year-old that got hacked by the 6-year-old? I hire the 6-year-old. I hire competency. So what you'll find, Abhishek, is you're going to find two kinds of employers. A good employer like Amazon that cares nothing about your experience as long as you're capable. And a garbage employer that assumes that whatever you've done for the longest period of time is what you know. And you know what those employers do? They stagnate. And here's why. They hire everybody that's got the same background, everybody that's got the same experience. And you know what ultimately happens? Nobody can actually do the job. So how can you get a real experience? Do the work. Do the work. Design, design, design. If you're an architect and if you're a cloud engineer, build, build, and build. But don't do this silly build like the name of the service and how to configure it, that service, like in a certification course. That's not experience. Go design and build the cloud. For real. Build yourself a cloud. My students will do it. Design your cloud. Take a server, turn that server into a cloud, set up the cloud orchestration, the cloud control plane, the cloud networking, the cloud storage, all the cloud users. Now, if you can build and design your cloud, if you know how to create Google from scratch, you're a whole lot better than someone that's wasted their time doing, here, I set up a WordPress site like a 4-year-old. That's the thing. Setting up a WordPress site like the certification providers won't get you hired because that's not experience. I'm not joking. I've taught a 6 to an 8-year-old to do it several times, and they can learn it in 10 minutes. Nobody gets paid that. But learn the right skills, and it's fine. Don't fake work experience. I never did. My students never do, but they all get hired. In fact, Abhishek, for example, half of the students on my program that have been in the military, for example, that are now working in tech, they get 10 to 20 requests from recruiters every single day to interview them. They've never worked in tech, so it's not the problem. If someone's willing to interview you, they're willing to hire you. But I'm going to tell you what come back when you have more experience means. So Abhishek, I've interviewed 5,000 people. 5,000. Actually, it's now 6,000, but it was 5,000. Let's say 6,000. Of the 6,000 people, I've hired now 15. Of the 15, 5 had no tech background, no tech knowledge, or experience whatsoever. I hired them just because I liked them. And they've gone on to do great things. That's how hard it is to find somebody. You can interview 1,000 people and not find a single person that can do the job. So it is so hard to find someone that's competent. I don't think anybody knows how hard it is. How hard it is to find somebody that's competent. So if you're competent, the world will seek you out. All I have to do is make one YouTube video, and I can have 25 job offers before the end of the day because the people see competency. Competency, competency, competency is nearly impossible to have. Let's go to the next one, shall we? Bob, is the cloud engineer career as resilient as the cloud architect? Probably not. And here's the reason. In a good economy, we need more engineers. But in a bad economy, the cloud architect brings in sales. So here I'm a cloud architect. I work for Amazon. I go meet with a client and I go sell a $100 million solution. Wow, Mike Gibbs just brought in $100 million. I'm keeping the company afloat. Now, those engineers, Bob, cost the company money. Now, the reality is without the engineer, we've got nothing. Keep that in the back of your mind. Without the engineer, we've got nothing. Meaning, I can design all the beautiful architectures I want with the most beautiful Word documents and PowerPoints, but without the engineer, we've got nothing. But the companies will do this. They'll keep the engineers, They'll lay off a small percentage of and they'll keep the architects, lay off some engineers, and make the engineers they have work twice as many hours. So cloud architect careers always have more resiliency in bad economies, because in a bad economy, you're being paid to help lay off. And in a good economy, you're being paid to help expand. Let's go to the next one, shall we? Sagani DevOps engineer is one career, and cloud career engineer is another career. They're totally different. The key is actually knowing the difference. So a cloud engineer needs to know how to build stuff on the cloud. They need to be good with Linux. They need to be good with Python. They need to be good at scripting. And really, they need to be good at the network and the data center. By comparison, a DevOps engineer needs to be a software developer first, who then needs to be good with automation tools and DevOps tools such as Jenkins, Spinnaker, and such. They're extremely different careers, and the managers want extremely different skills. Now, you may see job descriptions that are confused, and the confused job descriptions are coming from HR that makes these kitchen sink job descriptions. And I made it too in my youth. And you know what these job descriptions are? When your manager says, Mike, you need a job description. You don't know how to write a job description like any of us. You go to Indeed, ZipRecruiter, you find the longest, 50th page job description, then you add your stuff, and then you post it. So job descriptions have no relation to what I actually do in life. I've never applied for a job for which I had more than 10% of the skills in the job description. I've never not been hired. I've applied for 5 jobs and gotten hired by all 5 in the last 25 years. So keep that in the back of your mind. Charlie, you want to go to the next one? Ravi's son, you had a question during an interview that is what if they ask me, how do you compare yourself with the other candidate? Well, that's easy, as you don't know what the other candidate says. So you can't talk about the other candidate, but you can talk about yourself. Ravi's son, what do hiring managers want? They want energetic, enthusiastic people that are technically competent, have good honor and integrity, that know what they know and know what they don't know. They like people that are willing to go above and beyond. They like people that are a team player. So I can't tell you about the other candidate, but I'm a highly energetic, highly motivated individual, and I absolutely love cloud-based technologies. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I can find the answers to things quickly. I know that you can know that if I was part of your team and you needed me to know something, I'd stay up all night and read 1,000 pages a day, every day, until I was an expert on it. And I'm willing to go above and beyond, and I'm a great team player, and I just want to make you happy. Well, you don't sound like everybody else, Ravi-san, so never put your competition down, but always build yourself up. Charlie, you want to go to the next one? Chris Bush, you're leaving a pre-sales position focused on solution consulting and design. Well, that's how do you prepare for an AWS SA technical interview? Chris Bush, you're leaving a position which is the same position as you're applying for. So you should be in good shape. So if your position is on solution and consulting and design, that's what you're doing. Prepare for the job that you've already had, and you'll be great. That is the job. It is a pre-sales job focused on solution consulting and design. So focus on that. Focus on your business acumen, your leadership skills, your sales skills, your communication skills, your presentation skills. Guess what? The technical interview at AWS is so basic, it's almost laughable. And they do that for a reason. That's not their concern. AWS is very smart in their interviews. They get very deep into your behavioral skills, your communication skills, your emotional intelligence, your ROI modeling skills. That's really what they're looking for. So those are the things that you're looking about, your sales skills, your presentation skills, and all these things. If you saw me waving, I'm so excited. My brother just flew in from Philadelphia. So apologies for the distraction. But, those are the kind of things. So focus on that. I got to tell you, show that. Show honor. Show integrity. Know those 16 leadership principles. And guess what? Those same 16 leadership principles are the same 16 leadership principles that you would need to know for any great company. Master those things, and guess what? You'll get hired. They'll love you. AWS is very smart in their hiring. They hire people with the right attitude, the right energy, the right enthusiasm, and the right knowledge. They don't care if you have experience or not, but they care if you're competent. They can train you for anything, and they hire the best and brightest. What is the biggest part of this job interview? It's a presentation. Master the presentation. Master the soft skills, master the leadership skills. Amazon is very biased on CXO relevancy, sales skills, communication skills, empathy, emotional intelligence. That's what they love. That's what's going to get you hired. And the fact that you're already working as an architect effectively and you're applying for an architect, that even makes it easier. Because Chris Bush, that's what a solution architect does. They design and consult. Great question there, Chris. Julia, what if your employer or supervisors don't like you? Then you're in real trouble and you're getting fired or not hired. So the key is, Julia, why do you think we focus so much on likability? You know, when it comes to an interview, 50% of your interview score is related to your technical competency, but the other 50% is not. It's related to your soft skills, emotional intelligence, likability, attitude, enthusiasm. So if you're not likable, learn how to be more likable. We actually include a lot of likability training in our program for that reason. If your supervisor doesn't like you, you're fired. If your team doesn't like you, you're not promoted. So if the people interviewing don't like you, you're not hired. So please, 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 please go out there and build your best career. Be so good that your team loves you. Make them love you. You'll get hired more, you'll get paid more, and you'll get promoted. So super, super, super important. Go out there and make your hiring manager love you and get hired. And if not, invest in some likability training, some soft skills training, some empathy training, some emotional intelligence training. And guess what? You'll be more likable. Julia Joseph, how do you propose getting promoted when you have taken the training needed and received the certifications? Julia, certifications are never going to get you promoted. Ever. Never, never, never. Promotions are based upon the following. What is the impact you make on the organization? How likable you are, how emotionally intelligent you are, how good your soft skills are, your communication skills, your presence. That's what it takes to get promoted. Certifications are meaningless. So when people come to me after years and they say, Mike, I'm stagnant in their career, and I say, what are you doing, certification training? And they say, yeah. And I say, don't do that. So I tell people when they say, Mike, should I get a master's degree in tech? I say, no way, Jose, get yourself an MBA instead. So the key is your tech only gets you so far. Like my manager told me 20 years ago. Then he said, do you know the difference between a $150,000 engineer and a $300,000 architect? And let me tell you, 18 months later, I was a $300,000 architect 20 years ago. And what he told me was true. Soft skills, emotional intelligence, empathy, communication skills, ROI modeling, leadership skills. That's how you get promoted. It is not on your tech. So focus on the high value targets, the things that the managers care about, and you'll get promoted. Now, Julia, if you're in your company and they won't promote you after you've been there a long period of time, don't worry. You know what you do? Go to another company. Master the interview, the soft skills, communication skills, empathy, emotional intelligence, ROI modeling, business acumen, CXO relevancy, presentation skills, executive communication skills. Poof, do that, go somewhere else, get yourself a massive, massive, massive raise. So, Julia, that's my recommendation for you. So I'd like to end on a couple of things. As you may have heard today, I love tech careers, but I also want you to get the best tech careers. And the best tech careers, it's not about the tech. Now, this sounds really counterintuitive. So in 25 years of building business and technology, I'm going to tell you this. No customer buys tech because they want to. Never. I mean, I do. I mean, if you'd see right now I'm actually using my Windows system, which has got 64 cores, a half a terabyte of RAM, and a Quadro A5000 GPU in it. I don't need it. I'm just a little bit of geek and I like playing with it. But that's the key. Businesses are not techies. They don't buy technology because they like it. They don't hire technology people because they're certified. They hire technology people and they buy technology to improve their business. To improve their business. So, because of that, that's how you get ahead. That is how you build a career. And no, class, you don't need to be a CCIE to be an enterprise architect. Most of the enterprise architects that I don't know more a single word about technologies. They're very technically not competent, but they all have business skills, communication skills. So, class, I'm going to end it here. Cloud engineer, super, super, super technical, all technical. Solution architect, half technical, half business. Cloud architect, 60% business, 40% technical. Enterprise architect, 75+% business, almost no technical whatsoever. CCIE is about 10 times more than an enterprise architect would ever need to know. In fact, when I am an enterprise architect and I work that way, I usually hide my CCIE and push out my MBA because I don't want people to know I'm a CCIE when I work as an enterprise architect. I want them to see me as an executive and not a techie. So it's all about having the right skills and the right match for the right job. Enterprise architecture is all about the person that can transform a business through technology. So not about certifications, all about business acumen, leadership, and communication skills. So I'd like to thank you today. If you desire to become a cloud architect, we've got an incredible cloud architect career development program where we get our students hired every single day of the week, and we want to get you hired too. So if you desire to be a cloud engineer, because we've gotten so many people hired as cloud architects, and it happens every day, the world has come to us and said, could you please get us cloud engineer hired? So I put on my propeller hat with a technical. I reached out to the world's greatest technology people I know, and we created a cloud engineering program that is amazing. We're going to getting the people all over the world their first cloud engineering jobs, and it's coming really, really soon. And we're super excited about it. So 50% off the cloud engineering program with a coupon code Cloud Engineer. So if you guys could give me some likes and comments, some subscribes in the chat box, if you can give me a hashtag Cloud Hired and a hashtag and tell me where you're located. I'm in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I know Leo's in Brazil. I know Alonzo's right near Houston. And I know Chow's around the Dallas area. Let us know where you're at, and then thank you so much, and have a wonderful day. And please hit the like, comment, and subscribe button too. One more thing, tomorrow night, the inmates are going to run the asylum. So my chief operating officer, Chris, is away on vacation in Key West, Florida, having a really great time. So me, my good friend / brother Alonzo and Chow and Leo, we're going to have a party, and we're going to be online talking about anything you guys want tomorrow night. It's going to be super, super, super fun. My cat Cindy might be here. My brother Mike might be here with me, and it could be anything. It's going to be the inmates running the asylum, and it's going to be a party, a party, a party. So please join us. And on Friday, I interviewed the CEO of a green sustainability company, and you're going to get to hear about generating power and why data centers don't have power outages and all kinds of cool, exciting stuff. Henry over there, cloud hired in Cyprus, which I would call Kipro. Henry, you come in our training program. In addition to the Turkish, which you probably speak, we need to teach you Greek. So, Henry, we'd love to see you. Super great. And Henry, with your name, it's pretty interesting. One of my cousins just married a half Nigerian, half Greek person who speaks fluent Greek. It's kind of the coolest thing. So, Henry, we got to teach you some Greek in addition to the Turkish where you're living. We've got Alonzo, stage crazy. I'm loving Henry. Is the nicest guy. He's over there in Cyprus. We have a lot of IOs that we work with, obviously. Omer's there, Cloud Hired in Washington, D.C. So, all of you, been such an honor to see you. Let's get crazy. Tomorrow night's going to be fun, crazy. We have no idea what's going to happen because daddy's away. So Chris, make sure that all my dreams and wishes are delivered, and he's not here. So the cat's away. Well, in Greece, they say, which means as soon as the cat leaves, the rats dance. So the rats are going to dance. Thank you all for your time today. I look forward to seeing you another day. See you tomorrow night. Take care, everyone.